Thank you. Thank you for coming. We're beginning tonight with the first night of observances of Liberation and Freedom Day here for our community. And we thought it would be important to reflect tonight on the experience of trauma, on who had the most to gain and to lose from Liberation and Freedom Day. That is, before we get to Tuesday, all right, the beginnings of emancipation, we first have to reflect on what happened here. And what happened here in our environment where we are tonight.
And before we get too far into our program, I want to make sure that I take a special moment to offer up a thank you to each of you for coming out to attend this very special and solemn event. But I also want to take a moment to thank Elizabeth Shalou and the beloved Seaville community for helping to organize this event and put it all together. You may see the gray t-shirts around town, so if you see those, thank them individually, please. Please recognize that while this is a celebratory event, it is a very solemn occasion. So please bear that in mind as we move to the different locations along this very small trek that we'll be making on this evening. Why are we doing this? On this very first night of this week's observations of Liberation and Freedom Day, we're acknowledging and honoring the ancestors of our city and of our county. This solemn event is a reminder of the pain and trauma of the enslaved community, who were the majority of area residents. Tonight, we descend to the depths of pain before we celebrate on this coming Tuesday, the beginnings of emancipation. We are reckoning with history, and we're forced to reckon with that history, which continues to impact our collective lives. We're gathered at the very seat of our local judicial system. This is where human beings were sold from the steps of this courthouse. Then traffickers filed the papers from their transaction in the sale of those people who were considered property. This is the same justice system which today still disproportionately punishes Black people.
The way in which we mark and narrate our history matters to our community, especially to descendants. So, in keeping with the occasion, we want the focus to remain on ancestors and descendants. Descendants, if you desire to go to the front, if you so desire, because we're honoring their ancestors. To preserve the solemnity and reverence of the occasion, please no flash photography, although I think we're okay with that. Boom mics or TV camera lights. We request that the media stay at the periphery of the gathering during the vigil, please, and keep talking to a minimum. So we're going to walk around just this corner here of Court Square to 3 stations where enslaved people were bought and sold before we return here where we are now for the conclusion of our vigil. Please watch your step as we're going off and down the curb. Our first station is at the former site of the Eagle Tavern, 300 Court Square, right behind us. There, Ms. Myra Anderson, who is a poet and activist and who's a 6th-generation descendant of the Hearn family of Monticello, will guide us. Ms. Myra will read aloud the names of 33 people, some of whom were her ancestors, who were sold there at Eagle Tavern at the Thomas Jefferson estate sale of 1829. The Reverend Carolyn Dillard, Associate Minister of Zion Hill Baptist Church of Keswick, will offer prayers for these trafficked people who were named and for their descendants. Next, we'll move to the former site of the slave auction block marker, the number 0 building, 0 Court Square, which is the former site of the Benson Brothers auction house. There, we will hear the words, the recorded voice of Fountain Hughes, an enslaved man from Charlottesville, as he describes the pain of the buying and selling of enslaved people. The Reverend Xavier Jackson, pastor of Chapman Grove Baptist Church, will gift us with a sung meditation. Our third stop will be the Swan Tavern, right there on the corner of Park and Jefferson. There, Ms. Colleen Yates, a descendant of Sally Hemings' sister, Mary, will guide us. Ms. Colleen will read aloud the 1852 letter by Maria Perkins, an enslaved woman from Charlottesville who was being sold at this courthouse. Apostle Sarah Kelly, a Charlottesville native and pastor and founder of Faith, Hope, and Love Church of Deliverance, will offer a few words and song. And we'll conclude our vigil here.
We will come back here to the steps of the courthouse to wrap up the vigil and to offer a benediction as we pray for our ancestors, the descendants, and each and every one of you that has taken the time out to come and gather with us on this evening.